Hi there VC, it's Steve Whitty here. Two videos in 2 days, bit much for me. In yesterday's video I mentioned that I was going to a VC meetup in Birmingham, and this video is just explaining what happened and what I purchased yesterday. VC meetup consisted of the two Johns, Bellamy and Downing, Headley and Chris. The plan was that we'd meet up in Birmingham city centre. I only live. It's a 15-20 minute train ride from where I live, so it was local to me. And I think the same for John. I think John's pretty close. And I think James actually stayed the previous night down with John, and Headley parked his car and he stayed yesterday night with John as well. So we met up at the Sly Old Fox, which is a pub in Birmingham on Her Street, which is close to the railway station. Chris had come down by train from Newcastle and John had driven, so he parked close by. I met up with John Downing and James and Headley, went to the pub, and then Chris came along and then John followed. So we had a couple of pints in there. You might gather there might be a bit of a theme of alcohol coming through on the video. So after a couple of drinks, we ventured off to the Discovery. Now, the Discovery is on Bromsgrove Street in Birmingham, and it has the distinction of being the oldest record shop in England. I think it's been there since 1952. It's been trading since 1952. I think some of the staff have been there for nearly 30 years. It's quite out shop. It's mainly second-hand stuff. It deals with quite a lot of second-hand stuff. It did have some record store day vinyl on display if you wanted it. Friendly shop. I've been there a few times. It's one of those you get your face known. It does turn out to be quite advantageous. So at the Discovery, I brought 4 albums, and first one was Emmylou Harris, and this is her album Roses in the Snow. Now, I showed this to Headley, and Headley said this is her sort of like bluegrass album. And that recommendation from Headley was good enough for me to pick it up. Really in good condition. So the album was released in 1980. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to giving that a spin. Next, I picked up Kurzel Flyers, Golden Mule, I think. Golden Mile, flipping heck, I need to change my glasses. Golden Mile. Now, Kurzel Flyers, I've got a previous album of theirs. The BBC documentary that was made about them, of their life on the road, was the primal inspiration for Spinal Tap. Yeah, I think it might be on YouTube, but it's certainly worth having a gander to see where it comes from. Kurzel Flyers were sort of pub rock band, and it featured Will Birch on drums. I think the guy with the jacket and the tie. So, and the reason I brought this, they had one big hit single, the opening track, Little Does She Know, and it was that big hit. It was sort of like, I can describe it. A song that just built up, where they just threw everything in, and including the kitchen sink. The album's produced by Mike Batt, better known in the UK for the Wombles. So I'm looking forward to giving this a listen. I purchased some Bob Dylan, another side of Bob Dylan. This is a 70s reissue. I haven't got this album on vinyl. I've not got that much Dylan on vinyl, mainly because I've got a fair bit of it on CD, so I'm not actually rushing out. But another side Bob Dylan. I'm trying to think when this originally came out. I think it's 64. you all know, really Bob Dylan, All I Really Want to Do, Chimes of Freedom's on here to Ramona, I Shall Be Free, It Ain't Me, Babe, sort of classic early period Dylan. Again, really pleased to pick that up. As I say, it's a reissue, so it's on the Orange CBS label. And I thought that was going to be all I was going to buy in there. I had my eye on Grace Slick's Dreams album. And I thought and hard. And the guy just priced some records and he put them out. So he put them out in like the cheapo bin. So I thought, well, let's have a look what else is in there. And probably the find for me of the day, yesterday, was to find this. Prince's Sign of the Times. And this was only going for a £5. Vinyl looks great. I think the cover is not in great condition. It was never a gatefold, so it's just like 2 albums in. And yeah, so to pick up some Prince for a £5, I thought I was not going to say no to that. And classic Prince. Obviously, it's the title track. I believe this probably is to be his best work. So yeah, really happy to have that. Sign of Times, you've got the look with the 2 big hit singles. Yeah, so that was quite a fruitful visit to Discovery for me. So if you're ever in Birmingham, it's worth checking out. It's quite a little store. On Saturdays, they sometimes have live bands in, and because it's close to one of the local venues, you sometimes get the odd band popping in just to have a visit and check out the records. Big selection of jazz and classical as well. A lot of singles, a lot of cheap stuff, like film music. Well, worth checking out, and the staff are very friendly there. So after about an hour or so in the Discovery, popped off. I think it was called another pub called the Dragon Inn, to have a pint and bite to eat. Thank you, Chris. And then there's only 2 real record shops in Birmingham. Well, there's 3, but there's 2 that deal with second-hand stuff. The third one's in the Oasis Marketplace, which tends to be new releases. So, but it's the other shop is at the other side of the city centre, so it's a bit of a walk. So, the shop in question is Swordfish. It's in Dalton Street. It's by the Law Courts in Birmingham. It does a mixture of second-hand and new. Tends to be quite a bit more new. Quite a fair bit of outstanding record store day stuff as well. Lots of singles. Very big mix of genres on the albums, and do CDs as well. So, what did I buy in Swordfish? Well, the first record I came across, this is a record that's been shown a lot recently on the VC, and everyone's saying how good it is. And it's Van Morrison's Vedan Fleece. So I saw that and I just thought I'm going to pick that. Everyone's talking about it. I think it's an original pressing as well, from the looks of it. So bargain to me for £8. I was really pleased to pick that up. I think Van Morrison, as I said in previous videos, I've got a bit of a hole to fill it with them. It's sort of like checking out the good and the bad, and I know he can be a bit difficult. I think Jeff Kemplin, in one of his previous videos, recently saw him, and when it was all his latest stuff, he was like really belting it out. But when it came to the hits, he gave the air of not really being too bothered, which is a shame because, maybe it's part of his charm. You never know how to catch him, Van the grumpy old man at times. So, next record I picked up was Deep Purple's the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Malcolm Arnold. This is the Concerto for Group and Orchestra, as it's properly known. I think this is an original. You've got the gatefold there. And that. somebody's quite. So in Wednesday, 12th of May, 1982, which is almost 37 years ago to the day, somebody's written that on the inner sleeve. It's 12:30 a.m. and though my flat is pretty full, everyone is on their own. Domino's okay, Joe's all right, but Carol's on adhesives and Steve's miles away. I don't know what caused it, but things just totally out of order. I just wish I had the courage to put it out. My feeling, whatever it says, I can't. The writing's too good. It must have been a good night that night. Anyway. Really pleased to pick that. It was a whole in the Deep Purple collection, and the price was right for that one, so I was happy to pick that up. And then continuing with groups with orchestras, Procol Harum live in concert with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. Again, this is an original as well. Original green chrysalis, with the fact it was released through Island Records as well. I've never listened to this album before. I'm aware of it. So it's something I thought, well, let's give that a go. I'm more than happy to see if anything's worth picking up on that and having a listen, if I like it or not. And then the final album I picked up, Icicle Works, and this is their album. If you want to defeat your enemy, sing his song. I believe this might be the third album. It's produced by Ian Brodie of the Lightning Seeds. I've got the first two Icicle Works albums. The main track for me on here is Understanding Jane, which I have got as a 12-inch. So I'm more happy to explore that. They've got back together recently, and I think the original lineup are performing their debut album. Icicle Works were from Liverpool, and sort of like indie pop, I would best describe it. Initially were good. They were popular, but never really sold in great amounts. I think they had a bigger following, but weren't that. I think weren't overall that popular. Ian McNabb, the lead singer, he had a solo career, and he recorded an album with Crazy Horse, which was quite lauded at the time. So went from Swordfish to another pub called the Post Office Vaults. While there, John Bellamy gets his bag out and he produces a bag of records for James. And James goes through them and says, I've already got this record. So John goes, anyone wants this record? I said, yeah, I'll have it. And the record in question was Nancy and Lee. Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood. The hits of, obviously best known track for me on here is Some Velvet Morning. You've got their version of You Got That Lost That Loving Feeling on here as well. It's an album I've never listened to before, so yeah, I'm more than pleased to pick this up. This is a reissue. I've checked on Discogs on Reprise Records. Nepotism for being on Dad's record label. There you go. So yeah, it was very generous of John. But then he brought out some more records. There was a couple of down records that Pedley had, another record that John had as well. And I'm not sure if it was something for Chris, but he pulled out this record and said, would anyone want it? And I thought, well, yeah, I'll take a punt on it. I'm aware of them. I quite like the group. Everything But the Girl, and this is their album The Language of Life, which was released in 1990. And the track I know on here is Driving, and yeah, so take that off you. So I was really pleased with that. It's unexpected, and it's really generous of John. So thank you, John, for that. So we stayed in there, and about 5:30ish, it was time to go really, because Chris and James had a train to get back. John had left just a little bit earlier because he had a bit of a drive back. And Headley was staying with John, but he's driving back today because he's got a meet up with Jonathan, Cheap and Cheerful Records. He's over here visiting his daughter. He's up in York, and I think they're having a day, something to eat, and flip round a couple of record stores in York. So I hope you have a great time, and send our regards to John. And as for the next meet-up, I think we've muted Bristol as a possible place. It's so that like Graham and Crackling Vinyl, he lives in Exeter, which is right down the far end of the country, and he misses out because it's a heck of a trek. Public transport, if you don't drive, public transport in the UK is it can be a long train ride. I know Chris's train ride was about 3.5 hours. So we've muted Bristol. I've found some dates of record festival fairs that happen in Bristol. Good, probably chance it's probably towards the end of the year, Bristol, because obviously holidays. There's obviously permission to go out for the day as well. So it might be a bit of a pre-Christmas blowout, so to speak. And I hope we can get some more people to come along because it's just great. I think what we all enjoy is, maybe it's just that sitting there just talking records. It's almost geekish in a way, but it's just talking records, talking about chewing the fat about the YouTube channels themselves, everything that goes along. So yeah, it was an enjoyable day. I'd like to thank all the guys for making it so enjoyable. Just think anything else. So I'm looking forward to seeing their videos. So I'll end this video here. So if you're new to the channel, you like what you see, click on the subscribe button. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Love the interaction. And feel free to leave a comment. I'll always get back to you. So until the next time, VC, take care of yourselves. Keep spinning. More importantly, keep smiling. And guys, once again, big thank you for yesterday.